Now that we know what features will our MVP have, and now basically we know what we're building, let's dive deep into how one can calculate MVP development costs and what should one know to better understand the costs that one would entail in the whole development process. So let's start with factors that affect development costs. So there are a lot. When I say a lot, I mean a lot of factors which impact development costs, but let's just try to cover most common ones that one might face. First of all, you need to understand that your product would be a mobile first product or a web first product. Now the world is evolving and going towards a mobile first product, but then there are solutions. For example, if you are building a sales SaaS platform, let's just say, which needs that the user is accessing it through their laptop or their desktop, you would definitely go with a web first application. And similarly, if you're going for a gym application, let's just say, then it would make sense to have a mobile first approach, because no one would use a laptop in their gym, right? So understanding these would affect your costs, as a web first approach, a web app is generally more cheaper as compared to a mobile application. Moving forward, you should understand if your product will have AI or not. So AI integration is one thing, and actually training your AI models for your product is another thing, which is much more expensive. So you need to understand if adding AI to your product is absolutely necessary in the first phase or not, because if it's not, believe me, you should definitely avoid it, since it's gonna be very, very costly. And another most important factor is custom design. While it is very, very important, you need to see if your product is actually going to be used by individuals who are that much affected by the design. For example, if it's a web app which is going to be used by some sales team, then UI UX design isn't the first thing that comes to the mind. The first thing is the functionality, what it is that they're after. But if it's let's say a music application like Spotify, then UI UX design is very, very important. So custom design is actually very expensive and yet very important. So you need to plan it accordingly, because there are many tools out there, AI tools, which can build very, very good UI UX designs, which can actually be used for your initial MVP, whether you'd be going for a custom application solution or for a no code solution. So you need to first understand and decide, like I've mentioned in my previous videos, what it is that you're actually building and what's the purpose of it. So if it's just an MVP which you're going to show to investors to gain funding, and you're cutting short on the cost, then you should go with a no code solution. No code solutions are generally very, very cheap. One example for mobile application development is Flutterflow. Flutterflow is a no code solution where you can build applications very quickly, very effectively, and at a very, very cheap price. But the major downside is that it is not very customizable and scalable. Once you're actually going to go into the action, you will definitely go towards the custom app development. And also, I'm not going against no-code solutions entirely, but it depends on what it is that you're actually wanting from your application. For example, if it's just a very basic application with no complex features, for example, user authentication, push notifications, even email sending functionality, these are like very basic features that you can very easily achieve through a no-code solution. But if you have some complex features that are not implementable in a no-code solution, then you'll definitely need to go towards a custom solution. So you need to understand, and like I told previously, how should you map out all of the features that you'd want in your application. Once all of those features are done, you need to check if these features are actually implementable in a no-code solution. Then you can make this decision of whether you want to go with a no-code solution or with a custom app. Also, I'm not saying that you should know how to work on this tech stack, but you should at least know about the common tech stacks that are out there on which your application will be built upon. You need to understand, just simply GPT it, what tech stack would be feasible for your product. And, you should get a complete balance out of it. Just because, someone wrote it on the internet that Python is very good for development doesn't mean Python is good for the backend development of a mobile application. a Node backend or a backend developed on Ruby on Rails is equally good, or even in some cases better than a backend developed in Python. And Python is very expensive to develop upon. So choosing the right tech stack for your product also deeply affects and impacts the cost that you'll incur for the development of your project. So there might be some other factors as well, which I might have missed, but so sorry about that. But I think I've covered it all with this one last factor as well, which is you need to understand the features implementation as well. For example, if you want to get a payment integration inside your application, so a very common method used all around the globe is Stripe. If you're going with any other third party just because it is giving like 0.2% better rate, think twice, because there might be a lot of difficulties and problems faced by the developer when implementing that specific solution because of poor API documentation, which will not only affect a delayed implementation of that feature, but it will also cause more amount of working hours added to that specific application's development. And the more amount of hours that you put into it means more expensive the product is.